What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, man. I hope you guys are having a great day. It is currently Friday at the time you guys are seeing this, so I hope the end of the week is going well, and I hope you guys are having a great Friday morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching it. Today, this video was going to be about the Patriots quarterback room and why I think it's so interesting. It's not the most interesting quarterback room in the league, I will give you that, but I do think there's going to be a couple good storylines coming out of this one for a couple of reasons that we'll get into in just 1 minute. But first, I want to thank you guys so much for the support on the other video about Spencer Rattler. It seemed to do very well. That kind of style of storytelling / analysis seems to do really well on this channel, so I'm going to try and do more of that, and that's what this video is going to be as well. So let's dive straight on in. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment telling me why I'm wrong, where I'm right, and if you are new here, like I said, hit that subscribe button. Let's get started. The New England Patriots made one draft pick this past draft that really spurred this whole question in my head, and it's what is their plan for the quarterback of the future in New England? We all know the history of the Patriots ever since trying to find a replacement for the one, the only Tom Brady, which is hard to do, but they have been tasked with that opportunity, and so far they've came up short. But this year they made a couple of changes to that position, and I think one of them will ultimately pay off. The Patriots, among other picks, had two picks that really spurred my attention. And the first one, the most notable one, at number 3 was Drake May out of North Carolina. The second one, 190 picks later, was a quarterback out of Tennessee, most known for his arm talent and arm strength, Joe Milton. It was at that point I looked around and scratched my head because I was trying to figure out why they would do such a thing when the clear plan was Drake May to be the future. I also looked on their roster on the official page, and they had signed Jacoby Brissett, which I had known about, but they still have Bailey Zappi on the team. Now, I need to preface this video by saying that sometimes in the draft, you pick based on potential and skill level alone instead of fit. So that is very well what could have happened here with the Joe Milton pick. And while mentioning the past of the New England Patriots, we all know how Tom Brady came to be. And so that's really why this whole idea of the video came to fruition, was based on those two things. Now, most people would look at this quarterback room and say, okay, they've got 4 quarterbacks on the roster, 2 were drafted, 2 were signed, or 1 was already signed, and the other was signed in the offseason in Jacoby Brissett. They obviously have Bailey Zappi from last year. They haven't cut him yet. They haven't had the opportunity to see what he can do in training camp this year, so we will see what happens with that decision down the road. But I would venture to say that most people think the plan is simple, with if Joe Milton makes it through training camp and makes the cuts and makes the team, he'll be the third stringer, and Bailey Zappi will be the emergency quarterback. That the NFL introduced that rule next year that you can have a 4th quarterback on the roster. He just has to be an emergency capacity, or vice versa, with Bailey Zappi being that secondary role, 3rd role, and Joe Milton being the emergency quarterback. Whatever happens, if that is the case, 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be debated on what you think will happen as far as who will be in those specific spots, except for the first one. The starter will be Jacoby Brissett, at least for the half of the season for the Patriots. Here's why I say that. Number 1, we all know that Drake May had fallen into some bad habits at North Carolina, and that was mostly during his second year. His first year at UNC as a starter, he played really well, but into that second year, like I said, he fell into some bad habits. His footwork wasn't the best. He made some poor decisions. Now, a lot could be said for the team around him and different things like that, but unfortunately, when you look at someone that is getting that high drafted, you look at those things and you nitpick. And so that's what the kind of the cons were coming out of the draft for Drake May. It's also hard to believe that the NFL teams are going to have 4 quarterbacks. We didn't see it as much last year. We did see a couple of guys be signed off the practice squad from different teams be brought in instead of standing in that emergency role capacity. So we will have to see what happens. But let's take the scenario that the Patriots into the season with 3 quarterbacks, those 3 quarterbacks being Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, and Joe Milton. Like I said, we all know the hits that were on Drake May as far as some of the poor decision-making, falling into some bad habits, and his footwork. Those all can be said for Joe Milton. The only thing that he was really known for in college and in the draft was his absurd arm talent and absurd arm strength. The dude has a cannon of an arm. It is ridiculous. It's better than Josh Allen's. It's pretty insane. But we also know some of the short throw accuracy that he has isn't the best. Some of the footwork, similar to Drake May, isn't the best, and he has a tendency to fall into bad habits just like Drake May. But the crux of this video is asking, what is their plan for the future position at that quarterback spot? They have two guys who have really a lot of potential and can learn a lot from somebody like Jacoby Brissett, who is a veteran in this league, who has bounced around from team to team, been a starter and been a backup. He knows the games in and out. He knows the system of the Patriots in and out. Obviously, he was there before under Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. So he knows the system, he knows the Patriot way, and he also knows Gerard Mayo to try and tie the two cultures together, the new Patriot way and the old Patriot way. But why take Joe Milton at 190 when you already have a bit of a project guy in Drake May? Now, like I said, sometimes teams draft based on potential and things like that alone instead of fit. I 100% get that. This video is more of a long-term question instead of giving you my pure thoughts on who I think is going to be the quarterback of the future in New England. So I want to ask all you Patriots fans, are you excited about having Joe Milton? What are your expectations for Joe Milton? And the same could be said for Drake May. I want to hear what you guys think. I do think overall that Joe Milton has something Drake May can probably never get. You can't teach that type of arm talent, that type of arm strength. You can work out a bunch, but sometimes they just have a certain way, just like Aaron Rodgers. You can work out all you want, but you're not going to be able to throw the ball like Aaron Rodgers. Same thing with Joe Milton and Drake May. Drake May is a specimen. He's a massive human being. He can throw the ball very well, but it's still nothing compared to Joe Milton. So my question is, how do you balance that? How do you take a look at these two young quarterbacks who are both taken at the same time? Obviously, one completely lower and has a lot less expectations in Joe Milton versus the guy who you take number 3 overall, and he is supposed to be a starter, if not next year, halfway through the season this year. He still has a lot to learn. He did not play in a very high NFL offense at North Carolina compared to someone like Michael Penix Jr. or J.J. McCarthy, who both played a lot of pro-style ball, changing plays at the line and different things like that. It was very see a play, read, and react at North Carolina for Drake May. Same thing with Joe Milton. He's a lot more raw than what Drake May is. He is 3 years older, coming out of a little bit more college ball. So I do think that is something to be said. He does have a little bit more experience just game-wise in general than what Drake May does. I'm not here to say whether or not Drake May is going to be a bust or Joe Milton's going to be the next Tom Brady. I just found it really interesting that they decided to take him of all teams. It's going to be really hard to get both of those guys up to speed whenever you have Jacoby Brissett taking the majority of the first team snaps because he's the starter. Even though it hasn't been announced yet, everyone knows that's the plan. I think even Patriots fans can agree with that. But it's going to be hard whenever you're trying to get as many first team snaps for someone like Drake May, who you took number 3 overall, versus someone like Joe Milton, where he's not going to be getting pretty much any first team snaps his first year. So how can he really grow, and why did they take him? So I guess maybe the question of the video is, why did the Patriots take Joe Milton, and maybe not what is the plan for the quarterback at New England. In my opinion, it probably goes the way that everyone thinks it's going to go, where Jacoby Brissett starts for this year, maybe a little bit less than this year. You get some snaps in there for Drake May, maybe if the Patriots aren't doing so well, just to get him some experience. And then he gets all of next year to really be the first team rep guy, everything as the starter, and you let him go and you see what he can do. And then, maybe if he doesn't do good, then you see Joe Milton come in. So maybe Joe Milton gets a whole year of not even touching the field. Then you have him in a secondary role to Drake May. I do think that's plausible. But I just think overall the drafting of Joe Milton adds a few questions to what their plan is for Drake May, in my opinion. But I do want to hear what you guys think. I'm certainly interested in this quarterback room. If you want me to dive deeper into any other quarterback rooms, maybe somebody like the Steelers or Atlanta, for instance, I do think Atlanta would be a really good one. I do think Pittsburgh would be a really good one. Or any other video ideas, please leave them down in the comment section below. And like I said at the beginning of this video, thank you so much for the love on the Spencer Rattler video. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you leave a like and share this out if you want. Also, all my social media is description below. Make sure you hit up all those. There's a Discord, there's TikTok, there's Twitter. Those are where I'm most active at. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.